When we become a Christian, our perspective changes from the will of the flesh to the will of our Father in heaven. The old ways of pleasure cease to be the guiding light of our days. We have a higher calling based on new criteria. Men use the standard of culture oftentimes to make their decisions, and the culture factors nothing into its decisions except popularity and pleasure. It is shallow and vain and filled with frustration and hopelessness. And God's will bases its commands on holiness, but includes health and happiness as well. We find that Christians tend to lead a happier, healthier life than their carnal friends. Today we're going to be talking about a pandemic that is running rampant in our world today. And it's illustrated by the flesh versus holiness dilemma. And that is the issue of sexual relations outside of marriage and cohabitation. Cohabitation is living together in a sexual relationship outside of the bonds of marriage. Marriage is rapidly decreasing in the United States as cohabitation increases. Cohabitation has increased nearly 1,000% since 1980, and the marriage rate has dropped by more than 40% in that time frame. About 2/5 of children today are living in a cohabitating household, and the majority of couples that are being married today have lived together first. 53% have been involved in a cohabitation situation prior to marriage. Now, the fleshly idea is that cohabitation is necessary for couples to get to know one another before marriage. But whatever the motivation, it is contrary to the will of God. Hebrews 13 and verse 4 says that marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers God will judge. Friends, simply put, all sexual relations outside of the marriage union is sin. Fornication refers to any sexual activity with someone with whom you are not married to. Adultery is when a married person has sexual relations with someone outside of their marriage union. Adultery and fornication exclude men and women from the kingdom of God, as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 5 verses 9 and 10. They come from an evil heart of unbelief, as we're told in Matthew 15:19, and they corrupt the beautiful gift of sexuality given by God only to married couples. Linda J. Waite and Maggie Gallagher have written an excellent book entitled The Case for Marriage. And in this book, it focuses on the many reasons why those who are married are better off than those who are cohabitating. They have 40 pages of endnotes and bibliography where further research can be done. And each of these ladies are highly esteemed in their field of study. Those who are married, as opposed to those who are cohabitating, have much better health. Studies show that men and women engage in much less drinking and drugs when they're married and committed to each other. And the evidence from 4 decades of research is surprisingly clear. A good marriage is both men and women's best bet for living a long and healthy life. Married couples have better mental health than those who are cohabitating. Married people were also about half as likely as singles or cohabitators to say that they are unhappy with their lives. Couples who are married were more productive at their work. They generate more wealth and are better parents with happier children. Now, one myth about cohabitation versus marriage is that the latter often sees a decrease in sexual relations. However, the numbers paint a much different picture. Sexual satisfaction among the married is much higher than those who are simply living together. Cohabitating men were 4 times more likely to cheat than a married man, and cohabitating women were 8 times more likely than married women to cheat. Married men and women both report greater satisfaction than those who are simply living in a cohabitating relationship. Friends, these are things that we need to give serious thought to, because it is having a major impact upon the world around us today. We need to get back to following God's pattern. Get back to God's plan for the home and live lives that are free from these sexual sins. Friends, we thank you for joining us for our program today. Please consider these things and have a blessed day.